Myth that men don't get plastic surgery. Hi, this is Dr. Ramsey Choucair, board-certified plastic surgeon in Dallas, Texas, coming to you with another video to explain some of the things we do in our office. So men do get plastic surgery, but certainly not at the rate that most women do it. Many times men feel like it's a stigma to have any plastic surgery, even if it does look normal. And of course, that's the goal, and that's the biggest concern for anybody, especially men. Men do Botox routinely. It flies under the radar. No one really knows they did it, and they wind up loving it as much as any female might. Upper eyelids are the most common surgery, probably because I think most men feel like that's not cosmetic surgery because they need it to be able to see, but in most cases it is cosmetic surgery to clean up the loose skin in the upper eye, which is usually always genetic, and it does fly under the radar pretty well. A neck lift is very common, but many times men can't have an isolated neck lift, so they need a lower face and neck lift, and that's a little bit more of a step for most men. But once they have seen before and afters and realize that they will look normal, yes, men do get plastic surgery. I think it takes more courage for men to do it, and that's understandable. But I think that when men do it, universally, they're happy they did it.